White knows how to do this. I do, so here we go. Oh, did I just go there?
Funny.
Yes, I did.
Very funny.
This is brilliant.
Thank you.
Ready? I'm going to start with Nick. Jim?
Sorry. Thank you, Jim. Claudio, Nick Hausman, Wrestling Inc. Congratulations on your title win here.
Thank you.
This is your first World Championship win. It is in Ring of Honor. What kind of a champion do you see yourself being in Ring of Honor?
A great one. This is my first World Championship, and I said this before. I could be here and tell you guys all what I'm going to do and this and that. I feel like there's a lot of people that talk a lot. I like to let my actions speak, so it's going to be a hell of a run. Hope you guys are ready.
Hi, my name is Jay Shell. I'm with Wrestle Purists, IC Scoops, and Late Night Grin. And I just want to talk about that moment. We saw the look on your face, like all of that disbelief. Can you take us through what was going through your head during that moment when you saw all the confetti flying down and they're wrapping the championship around your waist?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, the years of hard work and that moment. I actually just talked to Tony about that on the way up here. That I had a hell of a run in this first month. It was like Forbidden Door, Blood and Guts, Fighter Fest, and now Death Before Dishonor. So I think that's, I want to say, like a Hall of Fame or like an all-star first month. You know what I mean? Like of things, and that, to top it off with my first World Championship. What made me so happy is the reaction of everybody. To me, wrestling is about the fans. It's about the interactiveness. It's about feeding off the energy, and that's what's always been so much fun. And to hear the crowd, to see it, and then I just wanted to take it all in and just soak it in because no need to rush. Just sit there and enjoy it. I waited for a long time, so. Just wanted to enjoy it, and it was amazing.
Hey guys, Jesse Collins with WrestleNomics. Claudio, speaking of those first 4 matches that you had between AEW and Ring of Honor, do you feel like you have more freedom to work in different styles in AEW and Ring of Honor than you maybe did in WWE?
Is that a rhetorical question, or do you actually want me to answer?
I'd like you to answer.
Yes. Very short, yes. I've had so much fun here. It feels like I've been here for years. It feels like this is the place that I'm supposed to be at. All the matches I've had were so different, which is, for me, that's a lot of fun. Like, styles make matches, and to have that challenge and to have that freedom to express yourself in the ring, on the microphone, everything is just, it's a gift, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to represent Ring of Honor as the world champion. So yes, I love it, and I have a lot more freedom, and I'm enjoying it.
Claudio and Tony, first of all, Tony, congratulations on the success here tonight in Lowell, Massachusetts, Death Before Dishonor. Claudio, a lot of professional wrestling history in this city. Two-part question for you first. Claudio, to open the pay-per-view, world title match set the tone for the show. Mm-hmm. And Tony, what was behind the thinking of that to open the pay-per-view with the world title match?
Well, it was a great match on that. To answer your question, I thought would be setting a tone, creating a great moment, a great opportunity for a classic match to kick the show off. And of course, with 2 out of 3 falls, it made sense to, as we said, at least consider putting that up as one of the double main events. We did a double main event to open and close the show, and as Ian explained on the commentary, it was a coin flip, and the 2 out of 3 falls was what went. And normally, the world title match is always at least in consideration, and as it was here, so it was a double main event to open and close the show with a world title match and a 2 out of 3 falls match for the tag team title. Both great main event matches, both great world title results.
Yeah. It was kind of a throwback to see, because back in the day when I was in the Ring of Honor before, many moons ago, it was such a stacked roster, just like it is today, that you can have a tag team title match as the main event, and it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, like, you guys have seen that match, Twitter 3 Falls match was absolutely amazing, right? It was so much fun to watch. It was incredible. So there's no question, right? You have the TV title, you have the pure title, you have obviously the world title. So, you know, even back then, Briscoes were still around there. So it was, okay, you can have the tag titles in the main event, or you can have the world title, and it just kind of, it flows, whatever makes sense, whoever wins the coin flip, and that just speaks for the product itself, and that just speaks for the level of competitiveness and the level that the tag team wrestling is at here in Ring of Honor and AEW, and I think that's a credit to the brand.
Gray Matthews is the Bleacher Report. For the last 10 plus years, you've known among fans amongst the most underrated, underappreciated performers out there. And becoming Ring of Honor World Champion, in your opinion, obviously this might be a fan question, but in your opinion, does this put that conversation to rest, or does it not, because you still have so much more to prove as the Ring of Honor World Champion?
First of all, I feel like we're all fans, right? And that's something to be proud of. Because I just watched the matches today, just because it's fun, you know. That's why we are wrestling fans, all of us, and that's how I think what we should be in our heart, because it's more fun to enjoy it that way. I don't know if I was really underappreciated, because I feel the fans were always in my corner. They always appreciated me, so I always had them on my side, which made me very happy, and I feel that's why I'm where I'm at today. That's where I hold this. So will this put the debate to rest? I don't know. That's a question for the people debating it. For me, I've said that before, this is just the beginning. You know, like, anytime you reach a new height in your career, you always have two choices. You can either say, okay, this is great, this is where I sit down and rest, or you can be like, this is where the hard work just starts, and I have to, you know, pick up my game. I have to get better. I have to improve at this. I have to do that. And I feel that's how I always approach life. You know, you're happy with where you're at. I'm extremely ecstatic to be the Ring of Honor World Champion, but I also understand that there comes a responsibility with it, and there comes expectation with it, and I'm ready, you know, to step it up. So, yeah.
How's it going, Claudio? Liam Crowley with comicbook.com. Tonight, obviously winning the Ring of Honor World title, your first world title in your career. You're 2 months after debuting with the company at Forbidden Door. Would you say that this is your brass ring moment?
What is a brass ring moment? If somebody can find that out and explain it to me, that would be amazing. I mean, it's definitely an awesome moment, and I feel life and wrestling is all about moments, right? And how you seize them, how you act in them, and how you succeed in the good ones and in the bad, because that's the journey, right? And everything I did in my life and in my career led up to this. So if that's a brass ring, I would say the first month was kind of, you know what I mean, a brass ring moment, because it was one of those, like, okay, how do you replace arguably one of the best wrestlers in history in Bryan Danielson, right? So then it was like, okay, I got to step up, because I don't want people to be like, oh, you know what, I kind of want to, you know what I mean? So it's to be that and be able to pull that off, and then going to blood and guts for 60 minutes. And you know what I mean? So it was like, to me, that was like, okay, this is great. This is a fantastic challenge. So if this is the culmination of my brass ring month, I think that's a really good one.
Justin Barrasso, Sports Illustrated. Question for each of you. Tony, was the original plan, I thought in our interview, there were injuries at Forbidden Door to kind of necessitated Claudio wrestling on that card. Was the original plan to debut him tonight? And for Claudio, you know, in order to win the belt and have mean anything, you got to beat somebody special. Jonathan Gresham, one of the hallmarks of your career has been you've done things your way. He's the same way. I think Jonathan's so talented. If you wouldn't mind touching on what you respect most about him.
It is like you said. It's, you know, this title has had such a long history of guys keeping it alive. And when the future was uncertain for Ring of Honor, he did that. He kept the Ring of Honor World Title alive. So I respect that a lot about him.
And I have to say, it was the original plan, yeah. It was originally, he was going to debut here, and it would have been a different build to the pay-per-view than what we did, and I think in a way that, you know, everything worked out perfectly. You saw tonight the announcement that Bryan Danielson's back. He's going to return to the ring at Fight for the Fallen on Wednesday against Daniel Garcia, who also had a great showing here tonight, which I'll touch on in a moment, against Wheeler Yuta, the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, also Claudio's stablemate in the Blackpool Combat Club. Originally my vision when we spoke was that Claudio was going to come back and be at Ring of Honor, and he would debut, and it would be a mystery wrestler. And I think there would have been a lot of anticipation for who it was going to be, but I also think that it would have been a great delivery. And I honestly think that, like, you know, if the fans had gotten drawn to the possibility of who could be associated with Ring of Honor, who is a name that is so important to the history of Ring of Honor and also was certainly, I believe, the best free agent wrestler in the world, then I believe it would have been a lot of fans assuming, hoping, wishing, wanting to see it be Claudio, but things changed. And I also knew when we spoke there was a possibility that he would come in as the alternate, replacing Bryan Danielson as Zack Sabre Jr.'s opponent at Forbidden Door, and also replacing Bryan Danielson in the Blood and Guts match. And so everything's worked out great. Bryan Danielson's cleared. He hasn't wrestled since Anarchy in the Arena. He's been rehabilitating, taking it easy. We've been conservative, and we're really excited to have him back, and he's excited to get back in the ring against Daniel Garcia. And, of course, it was just a great debut. And as Claudio said, as we were walking in, we talked about how amazing it is to have his first 4 matches be Forbidden Door against Zack Sabre Jr., 2 of the greatest wrestlers in the world, one-on-one at Forbidden Door at the United Center for his debut match, and then to go right into the Blood and Guts where he got the result and became a big hero and huge spotlight in one of the most important AEW television shows of the year, following up on the pay-per-view days later, then coming back at Fyter Fest and wrestling his former tag team partner Jake Hager in a great match at another one of our biggest TV shows of the year, Fyter Fest, and then coming in at Death Before Dishonor as the champion. So it's a different path, but a great path. And now Claudio is the world champion. Death Before Dishonor was a huge success, and Bryan Danielson's back, and everyone's here. And speaking of the Blackpool Combat Club, and I mentioned the great match earlier, Daniel Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta for the Pure Championship. Here is the Pure Champion, Wheeler Yuta. Hey.
How's it going?
Thank you. Hey, Bill. Hey.
We need to have a cool handshake for the Blackpool comeback.
I thought it was the Top Gun.
It is the Top Gun. Yeah, we got that. That's right. If you have more room.
He already made the Jay White joke before he walked in.
Good evening, Mr. Khan, Wheeler, and Claudio. Mr. Khan, for all intents and purposes, this is your first ever show from Ring of Honor that you were able to conceive from beginning to end, start to finish. Can you just tell us a little bit about the difference between a Ring of Honor show that you've had some time to plan out versus, say, an AEW pay-per-view? Get a little different mindset that goes in. Can you tell us the difference?
Well, a lot of differences. I think from a business standpoint, we presented it at a different platform with Bleacher Report, tied it in. Now there's a association between Warner Brothers Discovery and Ring of Honor for the first time, which is, I think, great for the Ring of Honor brand. I know from experience is also the owner and CEO of AEW. And also it's been great utilizing AEW and AEW utilizing Ring of Honor, having great wrestlers who represent both companies coming both ways, stars from AEW here in Ring of Honor, stars from Ring of Honor in AEW, and also having some of the champions from Ring of Honor and some of the moments that set up this pay-per-view appearing in AEW, but also having the pay-per-view on Bleacher Report was a big success. I know for sure that it is going to be one of the 3 biggest pay-per-views in the over 20-year history of Ring of Honor, and it's even higher than Supercard of Honor, which was already one of the 3 biggest. So now our 2 that we've done are 2 of the 4 biggest of all time, along with Supercard at Madison Square Garden and the All In. Those would be the top 4 buys. And this is also in the top 4 attendance, and it is the highest attendance ever for a Ring of Honor show that is not at WrestleMania weekend. And so it is pretty great. And we have great champions, and now you see somebody who is, I think, had great history in both companies, and somebody who's new to AEW has great history in Ring of Honor. And it's really special, and the Blackpool Combat Club now transcends pro wrestling, truly.
All the gold. All the gold.
Congrats.
James Stewart, 98 Baptist Sports Hub here in Boston. How you guys doing? Congratulations on your
you.
championship victories. At the end of the pay-per-view tonight, there was a standoff between the Blackpool Combat Club and FTR. Is that a Dynamite match in Worcester? Is that a future pay-per-view match? Where is that story going? And is the Blackpool Combat Club going for all of the gold?
Well, I'm not sure when it'll happen, but I'm sure that is a collision course that we're definitely on now. Obviously, FTR, in my opinion, is the best tag team in the world, but there's a reason that we have the Ring of Honor World Championship, the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, and Claudio and I have never tagged, so who's to say that we're not going to be the best tag team in the world? So I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah. That's the fun part, right? It's all the possibilities.
Hi, Dishonor again. Like you guys just said, you guys have a lot of gold now. You guys would normally be
You beat me with the roll-up. You beat me with the roll-up.
Hey man, I beat you with a wrestling
Bro, it's
move.
pure. You beat me with the roll-up. You said that you were going to take me down to the canvas and embarrass me. Then you tap out. You didn't embarrass me, man.
No, you're not embarrassed.
You put
I have
my
this
show-
title
I'm not
right
even
here.
hurt,
You
man.
don't.
I'm not even hurt, man.
It's not the place.
A
Yeah.
roll-up.
Yeah, all right.
I thought you guys were violent.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were violent.
Is that
Sorry, I can't
embarrassing?
hear you.
You're clearly
I got
embarrassed.
right after. I got right after.
Get out of here, fanny pack.
You guys started this.
I think you embarrassed him if he's coming up like
think
that.
so, yeah.
You
When
know?
I beat Brian, it's going to be worse than a roll-up. I might send him on vacation with his family again.
Oh,
I might
yeah?
send him on vacation to work on his garden a little bit.
Hey, I'll
How
see you
about
Wednesday.
that?
Really?
Hey,
Danny.
see what? You going to pin me again?
Hey.
You just going to put my shoulders
Hey,
on
I
you?
got a microphone. You don't, all right? So get out of here. Get your ass out of here.
Let's go.
You're not the time.
Come on, Danny. Come on, Danny. Come on.
This is embarrassing.
Hey, just because Tony said so.
Oh, yeah? That's it?
All
right.
Thank
I ain't
you.
even hurt.
Thank you very much. It was a very great match, Danny.
Not
Thank you.
even
Great
hurt.
match. Thank you,
All
Danny.
Good work, Daniel. Real close.
Careful.
Real
Very,
close.
very,
Maybe next time,
very
pal.
careful.
See
Very,
you
very
Wednesday.
careful who you're calling out here.
Anyways.
You didn't embarrass me. You put me with a roll-up. He's almost crying, isn't he? Sorry. I thought it was a great roll-up.
No, thank you.
It was a great match. It was a great match. And you guys have had a great rivalry across pro wrestling, a lot of great matches, different companies, and I think, you can't deny that you guys have had great matches, and he, no matter what you think of what he just came in and what said, I think he's a great wrestler, so. Thank you.
Tremendous wrestler.
Thanks for,
I'm looking forward to
thank you
seeing
for
him and
restraining
Brian.
yourself.
Yeah, no problems with him as a wrestler. It's just him as a human being. It's terrible to deal with.
It seems
But
like.
anyways,
Only known him for a month, but I'm looking forward to him and Brian. I'll
doesn't
tell you
get-
that much.
Doesn't get better.
Yeah, it's a cool story. I mean, it's really great to have Danielson in his comeback match. I think, that's going to be a hell of an opponent, firsthand. I mean, he's better than anybody in the world. I think he's a great opponent. So it'll be a tough match for Brian in his first match back. And it's, he's a great story too. I mean, you touched on it rather in a flippant way, but the way he came back from the accident, that's a true story. It's a true story. Jericho and I both, I didn't know him, but I heard about the story, and Jericho and I both donated to the GoFundMe. And what you said, I think in the heat of battle is what you said, but it was a real situation, and he's got a lot of guts.
Yeah, he does.
He's the perfect opponent for Brian when he comes back, as it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. Yeah.
Like I was saying, you guys are now dripped in gold, but when you're normally dripped in blood, it's gold this time. But
preferable.
what does it mean to be able to hold championships alongside so many other great wrestlers, and also to have the mentorship of William Regal, who's also obviously an amazing wrestler, amazing mentor? What does it mean to be able to have so much brotherhood in wrestling while maintaining and defending these championships?
To me, that brotherhood is what drives you. I talked about that earlier, that when you reach a goal, there's two choices. You can either just rest on your laurels or keep improving. And I always want to surround myself with people who push me to get better. And that's exactly what the Blackpool Combat Club does for me. Like anything I do, I have either William Regal or Mox or Yuda or Brian be like, well, I could have done this better, or maybe try this next time or do that. And that's what it's all about. That's what that brotherhood is, and it's awesome to have somebody like Yuda who is still so young and so incredibly good. Like, I think I told somebody that earlier. I was like, I can't wait to see him in 6-7 years, because it's going to be, hit his, like, that's when he's going to hit his prime. So it's just so much fun to be here and watch it, and hopefully help guide people like him in the right way. So to me, the Blackpool Combat Club is that brotherhood, and known all the guys for a long time, and Yuda for a month. But it feels like way longer. We actually have way more in common, so that's why it's so perfect.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that the way that the Blackpool Combat Club has really taken like a genuine interest in helping me develop as a pro wrestler has just been incredible. Like, being able to work with such great minds and always have, like you said, that feedback, that iron sharpens iron mentality of just making sure that we're all doing what we should do in the ring and just getting better and better every day has been invaluable. And to have this championship for me kind of brings things full circle. I made my debut in Ring of Honor in the Pure Championship tournament when it was brought back after being retired for many years. I never got to hold it, never got to even challenge for it after I lost in the first round. And then I never really wrestled in front of a Ring of Honor crowd. My entire first duration was in front of no one. So being able to kind of bring that back full circle is really special.
You also debuted at Daly's Place, right, as we were coming out of the pandemic, right, as we were getting fans back.
Yeah, I was on the last long dark tapings. And it was really cool to be
Garcia
able to do that
started
here.
around then too. He had done a little bit, but you guys, it was pretty amazing. Like I said, it's an amazing rivalry, and I have to say that the match you had tonight was really special, and you've come a long way. And from when you first came to AEW to now, and then in Ring of Honor, from when you were in Ring of Honor previously to now, I think tonight you really showed how far you've come and why you're one of the most exciting young wrestlers in the world. Thank you very much, Wheeler.
Thank you.
It's our last question for Claudio and Wheeler.
Wheeler, about 18 months ago, you were the best kept secret in independent wrestling, and now here you are on worldwide pay-per-view Bleacher Report. What's that journey been like for you? How does that feel, knowing that you've, for intents purposes, you're on the right track? Have you made it? Have you not made it? How do you feel after looking at where you were just 18 short months ago?
Yeah, it's been one hell of a ride for sure in the past few years. I went from being an independent wrestler during the pandemic, thinking that my career was over and that wrestling was dead forever and I'd be done and have to go get a real job. And then everything really turned around. Ring of Honor was the start of it for me, really. Ring of Honor, then New Japan Strong, and then, of course, AEW came around. And being able to have all of these opportunities is really special. And, like, the fact that AEW even exists, like, I should probably be on the independents for another, like, 5 to 10 years based on how like previously
I think you're
wrestling
exactly where you need to
Yeah.
be. So
Yes,
where you should
but
be.
I'm very happy that this exists, because without this I have no idea where I'd be. Yeah. Well, I'd be working at Vitamin Shop in Philadelphia.
Is there one? I know. Is it one more? One more. Anybody? Okay, yeah.
I'll take it. Hello, Steve Hall from NBC Sports Boston. Thank you guys so much for putting on a great show tonight. Tony, will we ever see a unification between Ring of Honor and AEW Championship someday to just have a special on Dynamite? Because there's so many great specials when Dynamite pulls them out. Could we see something like that?
Well, I'm open to having some title unifications potentially. I think the champions have obligations on their different brands, different challengers, so it could be tough. I mean, potentially you could face a conflict, for example, at a big event where a champion, there might be two separate championship matches, two sets of contenders. So that's something I've been mindful of also, trying to keep the schedules manageable. You know, there has been some unifications in AEW. Right now, there are people carrying multiple championships, and it's happened before that people have carried multiple championships in AEW on more than one occasion. So it's something you could potentially see. I mean, certainly, and then even within the company, you saw tonight possibly some intent. And even outside the company too, because the people I saw you guys staring down have a lot of hardware. And I have to say that, it's certainly something you could see. And at Forbidden Door, you saw just recently where Claudio made his debut. Of course, Wheeler was involved in a great match to start the pay-per-view. That one didn't go your way, but tonight did. So I think you can look back at that now with a little levity and say that Forbidden Door was a great show, and we saw certainly some of those possibilities. And I think this week for the Forbidden Doors opening again, we're seeing, of course, Yamashita versus Thunder Rosa. Of course, you saw some highlights of that, even in the commercials all over TBS and TNT. You're seeing highlights. Summer Sun Princess, Tokyo Joshi Pro, a couple weeks ago, clips of that. And, of course, on AEW Dark, we showed the full match for that Yamashita versus Thunder Rosa match in Japan, the Eliminator, with the upset Yamashita winning, and she'll be here at Fight for the Fallen. The Forbidden Doors open there. Of course, we saw many times over the Forbidden Door with Takeshita versus Moxley, and also now Rush has won 10 straight matches across AEW, Ring of Honor, and Mexico, and with these 10 straight wins he's put together over some top competition, including Penta in his AEW debut, one of our top stars, former World Tag Team Champion, co-holder, and now tonight beating his brother, former two-time Ring of Honor World Television Champion. He's one of the hottest wrestlers in wrestling. So, again, opening the Forbidden Door on Wednesday for that AEW Interim World Championship match. And, of course, whoever wins that match will be in great position. Speaking of Ring of Honor, one of the Ring of Honor Hall of Famers, the AEW World Champion CM Punk is standing there as the AEW Champion, and there'll be a unification match when he comes back. Whoever is the interim champion when Punk returns. So it's a great match. Former two-time Ring of Honor World Champion Rush versus the former AEW World Champion, the interim World Champion Jon Moxley. It'll be a great match at Fight for the Fallen. So Forbidden Doors open, a lot of champions across wrestling fighting each other. You never know. So it's definitely something we could see. And like I said, the Blackpool Combat Club had a big night tonight. Fight for the Fallen on Wednesday is going to be a big night. Yeah. And I really appreciate, I just can't say enough, speaking of championships, the champions here, thank you very much. Both your matches were great, and congratulations to both of you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
First-time world champion. First-time world champion. Great world champion. Let's hear it for Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah.
Great match.
Thank you. That's so cute.
No. Thank you. I would stay with you all night.
Thank you.
I would stay with you all night, my friend.
Good times.
Thank you. That was great. I could. These guys would talk wrestling with us, and these ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. It's not that complex. It's really easy.
I was about to say this is like the greatest thing ever, and he's just like falling over. I don't know. He would probably trip over that cord as well.
He's very. I was
over that one. All right.
He's over the top.
We'll
Thanks,
send
guys.
Somebody else.
Right, congratulations. Yeah, I'll take a question. We're gonna bring in another set of champs in a moment. I'll take a question. I can say that, real quick, just as a business briefing, Leo. This is we're approaching 25,000 buys digitally. We're well over 20,000, approaching 25,000. I may be over it, and just digitally. And when we get the cable and satellite buys, this will be one of the highest Ring of Honor pay-per-view buys in the history of the company in over 20 years of operating. And as I said, this is the fourth biggest live attendance. Of course, so our first show we did, Supercard, was up there. This beat that by a big margin, and it was great. And so it is the number 4 all time in over 20 years of Ring of Honor events. And again, it is the highest ever for a non-WrestleMania weekend event. It's pretty cool. Thank you. I really show we could stand on our own. And thank you. Excuse me. Thank you.
No, it's your company. James Stewart, 98 Boston Sports Hub here in Boston. You mentioned CM Punk. Is there a timeline for his return, whether it's Chicago Labor Day weekend or when? Could you give us an injury update on him?
Well, he's doing well in his recovery. He was at the Comic-Con today. I didn't see his panel. We saw that Bryan Danielson announced his return there, and not long after, of course, you saw that we confirmed it here again on Death Before Dishonor that it will be on Wednesday, Bryan Danielson returning from injury. But speaking of the Ring of Honor True Hall of Famers, CM Punk, the AEW World Champion, I don't know exactly what he said, but I know that he's doing well in his recovery, so I don't want to scoop anything he may have said at the Comic-Con panel. Well, so he's doing well. He's not behind in his recovery, so thanks, Nick. I wouldn't want to step on what he said, but the last we spoke, I haven't spoken to him since he did the panel. But going into the panel, he's doing well and on track, and we look forward to a great unification match when he's back, whoever the interim champion is.
Labor Day weekend?
we'll see. I mean, I can't rule it out, but I also can't promise because I don't want to say anything when it comes to somebody's recovery from a real serious injury, and he's really battling hard to get back as soon as he possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here, Tony.
Hey Tony, Liam again.
Hey.
Obviously a big seismic shift in the wrestling world recently, this being just about the second show since last night's SmackDown to air, since everything that's changed. How did it feel to have a pay-per-view of this magnitude running an arena, 6,500 seats, when last year Death Before Dishonor did, the 2,300 arena, which was much smaller in capacity? How did it feel to run a pay-per-view this close after such a big change in the wrestling world with a lot more eyeballs on it, per se?
I really appreciate you asking. I think the big shift for us business-wise was, Ring of Honor and acquiring it and the transition to new management. And I really enjoyed running the last show. This, I had the final say booking, and we also took the revenue, but because we were in the process of finalizing the sale, it hadn't maybe 100% sunk in, and technically it hadn't 100% sunk in, even though it was binding and it was going to happen. It was like closing on a house. And so, but I was there doing the show, and I loved it, and I knew this was going to be so great. I had a good feeling going into this, and I love pro wrestling, and I know that there's real synergy, as I said on the media call, which I think you were on, for AEW and Ring of Honor. I believe that together they're stronger than if you add up the separate strengths of the companies. There's real synergy. Some of it's come across on the television. I also think here, what you've seen, we've been able to have a really successful few months for AEW since Ring of Honor relaunched, and with some involvement on AEW television. AEW's pay-per-view business is stronger than ever. We just had 2 pay-per-views already this summer, and Forbidden Door off to an amazing start, and Double or Nothing was our highest Double or Nothing yet, where we started, our 4th one yet. It's gone up every year, each of the 4. And hopefully can continue the hot run of business. The last 4 pay-per-views we've done have been the hottest we've done, and I don't think it's any coincidence. It's since CM Punk arrived in AEW. And then while he's been injured, a lot of the great stars have helped continue the hot run of business. And Forbidden Door, I was, frankly, I had to make a lot of changes on the run-up. I've been super transparent with you all about it, and I think the changes we've done really well. And when the companies had such a great summer already, and I have something to look forward to now, with our world champion Punk returning as soon as he possibly can, and now we know Bryan Danielson's back Wednesday, and we have a lot of other great stars to look forward to. We had Ring of Honor, we here to have Samoa Joe make his return to the ring tonight and get the World Television Champion. Do you guys, hopefully you didn't, I don't know if you, hopefully that wasn't a skirmish in the hallway, but it's great. I heard some rattling. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions, the AAA Tag Team Champions, and the IWGP Heavyweight World Tag Team Champions, FTR.
1,
Congratulations.
2, and 3. Here you go, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, dude. Thank you so much. Sorry I'm shirtless. I just didn't want to wear a shirt. So.
I mean to drop that.
That's all right.
Sorry, it's an emotional evening.
Tony, any more like title holder?
For them they do, but I say they're handling it a lot better than Jay White.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Great.
Okay, here we go.
Can I follow up on one thing you just said before we get to FTR? Roosh and Dragon Lee, I know Lucha was such a big part of that last iteration of our Ring of Honor. That match was spectacular. To go a little behind the scenes with this, how did you put that together?
When I'm going to stay after they're done. I promise, we'll get to it, okay? No, this is cool. I don't want to waste the champ's time. Thank you. You totally understand, Justin, please? Okay, thanks. I can tell you're cool. Thanks.
I'll ask one of the champs then, that's all right. In terms of finally working so hard to get to where you wanted to be recognized as the best in the world, not just by your peers, but the crowd, it seems like everyone. Has that sunk into you? I mean, again, to work for something for so long and to finally attain it, it's a unique feeling, right? What's that feeling like for you?
Well, did you hear the post-match promo? I think that's something I live with every day. And, for so long, I was so afraid that we weren't, and personally, I wasn't going to be able to do something good for wrestling because it's done so much good for me. And this year alone, thanks to Tony, has allowed me to do something good for wrestling. and do something good for my family on top of that. And I don't think it'll ever set in. But I've always fought very, 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 very hard to make sure that we could, or to try to be able to leave something behind. And we talk about legacy, and it's such a buzzword now, but we do talk about it a lot. And to be able to do that this year alone means the world to me. I'm going to stop talking because I'll just start fucking crying.
It's not something I don't think we'll ever get used to. And I said it Wednesday, but I meant it. Like it's unreal to me every week when we go out there. And I remember after a Supercard of Honor, we were going into Boston for the Young Bucks rematch, and I was thinking, if the crowd's half as good tonight for us as they were, or if they're half as good in Boston as they were in Dallas, we'll be okay. And we went out there, and the crowd was just so behind us. I could not wrap my head around it. And then I was like, man, that was really cool. And then it's kept going, and it hasn't stopped. And the scale that it's reached now, I don't know. It's overwhelming, but it's overwhelming in the best possible way.
Yeah, and I've said it a million times, like, I can speak for myself. Being accepted and being loved and being wanted was something I didn't have for my whole life. And now, millions of people around the world accept and love and party with us. And that means the world to me.
Gentlemen, Anthony Pyrus, PW Insider. Have you come to grips with your place in wrestling history at this point, being clearly a top 10 tag team of all time, given the hardware, given what you've done in the ring, out of the ring? Please tell me how you feel, knowing how the general public of wrestling fans feel about you.
I would say yes and no, and that you kind of answered your own question, because you said top 10.
I'm good like that.
And we want to be one. So we know we're not there yet, but we're not ever going to be satisfied with our place in wrestling history until we get to the top spot. And maybe we won't ever do that. But if we ever decide we're not going to keep trying to achieve that, why are we still doing this? Like this legit, like we'll say it until the day we walk away. Like it saved our lives, both of us, in different ways, but it has. And selfishly, I want to make sure that what it's given to us, we can give back to it, but that it never gets forgotten either. So until we're number one, or at least in that debate, I'm not satisfied.
Yeah, being considered, like, I've said it a million times, Arn and Tully, the Hart Foundation, and the top of the list for me is Midnight Express. And I'm not even kidding. Dennis Condrey sent me a text today after the match telling me how much he loved the match. But to even just be in the conversation with those kinds of wrestlers, it blows my mind. I don't know if we'll ever reach the top, but we're going to work until we're going to work.
We'll give everything in our bodies until we're done.
We can try to get there. And if we don't, at least we fucking freaking tried. And at least we worked so hard to get there. And that's all we can do. But I appreciate you saying that. That means the world to me. Yeah, and we're going to keep going until we hopefully are number one.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nick Hausman, Wrestling Inc. Dax, obviously you have a big bandage on your face there. Early in the match, it looked like something had happened where you went to the outside and there were some physicians checking on you. Can you just walk us through what happened there, and if you're dealing with anything here other than the thing on your face?
Just the
let's see, it's Saturday, so it depends on the day. I'm dealing with something different every day. Tonight, he gave me a side suplex, and that is a very, very, very dangerous move. Landed kind of high. I hurt my shoulder a while back at Forbidden Door, and the doc, he asked me before the match how I was feeling, and I told him the truth, and he said, okay, well, I just want to make sure everything's going to be okay for tonight. He did all the tests, and everything's cool. But as soon as that happened, he just took it upon himself to come and check and make sure that the shoulder and the labrum and all my neck and everything was cool. It's a physical sport, but I'm okay. I'm okay on Saturday night. So ask me tomorrow morning, and we'll see.
Dishonor?
Hi, my name is Dishonor. I'm representing a bunch of different companies, so I'm not mentioning their names anymore. But I do want to talk a little bit about mental health in wrestling. Obviously, you guys are dealing with a lot of stress, pressure, anxiety to top the last match that you guys just had. How are you guys able to deal with that and overcome all of those things?
Man, I don't know. Honestly, I have a great support system at home, and I think that's the number one thing. And I think the number one thing for mental health and anxiety is to admit it, that you have it, you know, and the generation before us never did that, especially men, you know, especially stupid Southern men, you know, like my dad would never in a million years admit something was wrong. When I told him last year what I was going through, and I said, I think I'm going to see a therapist, and he was like, why do you want to see a therapist? And I'm like, because I want to try to get better. And he said, but do you feel like you're going crazy? I'm like, no, like, I just want to get better, you know. And so they don't understand. That generation does, and with this generation, we're figuring it out as well. But to top the last match, yeah, there's a ton of anxiety there. But I was secure in our abilities, and I was secure in their abilities as well. That we may not top that last match, and that's okay. That's fine with me. But you know, I knew it was going to be a very, very physical match, and I knew we were going to try to. And I knew the hard work from the was going to be appreciated by the Boston crowd. So for me, after what I've gone through the last a year ago, the anxiety of a wrestling match is nothing anymore. The anxiety of life is way far more. It's just harder, you know. Not even just as a wrestler or a man, but as a human being. Man, like, look at the stuff we deal with, you know, every day. Every single day you see something different, and it's all freaking scary, you know. But we have to admit to ourselves that we all need help. We all need a support system, whether that's a family or whether it's a friend or whether it's a therapist. I'm on Zoloft. I am talking to a therapist, and I'm very proud of that because I've come out on the other side, you know. And that's the stuff we need to talk about. The wrestling anxiety, wrestling is whatever. Life anxiety is what we need to talk about, you know?
Yeah, I think more than anything now, I feel more comfortable than ever because the crowd has kind of let us know that they appreciate what we do. So it gives us that comfort going into a match, knowing, okay, like we can do what our minds are thinking. And for the most part, these fans are going to follow along with us. Like they're gonna enjoy this. They're really letting us know how much they appreciate the hard work. So like that part makes it a little easier. But like he was saying, there is a lot of stress that comes with it. But with our platform, I think not just talking about the wrestling stress, talking about the life stress is a huge thing for everybody because pre-pandemic it was bad, but during the pandemic you saw or you heard a lot of people, loved ones, friends, family, strangers that were going through something, and I think they felt shame. They didn't want to speak about it. Having a guy like Dax who went through what he went through last year and now being so vocal about it, I think that is a huge plus for mental health and for the advocacy of it and for getting help and knowing that there's no shame, there's no stigma. There isn't. Like, and if there is, we'll beat the shit out of them.
Brad?
Graham Matthews with the Bleacher Report. Tag team main event tonight. Tag team title pay-per-view main event. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw that. Maybe it happened recently. I don't know. But talk a little bit about that to the point where tag team wrestling has been elevated. Tony, you as well. Putting a tag team title match in the main event of a pay-per-view, no less. First time probably in the last decade plus. Again, I'm not sure. But just what that speaks to the volumes of where tag team wrestling is with you guys right now and just wrestling in general.
Yeah, for us, obviously, it's pretty well documented. What we went through in 2019 and the reason we wanted to leave. The crazy thing is some people still shame us because we wanted to better not just ourselves but tag team wrestling. And I didn't even realize it today until I said to him, I said, "Oh my God, we're the main event! Like I can't believe that. It didn't even register to me because it's all been such a whirlwind this year." But you know, to be able to take tag team wrestling and be the main event, and humbly speaking, please, to be like the draw of the show, man, that's the stuff that we worked for. You know, even if we throw tag team wrestling out the door, that's the stuff that we worked for. That's where we wanted to go, and that's the stuff that we want to do, and that's the legacy we want to leave behind. and we went 48 minutes tonight or whatever it was, and that was that's the stuff that's important to me for wrestling and my legacy.
I'm very proud of our entire career. Like the stuff we did before we were a tag team, but especially since we've become a tag team, what we've been able to accomplish at all phases in different times. But what we've been able to do the past 2 years to be able to help tag team wrestling get back into a spotlight, to become buzzed about, to be one of the most talked about or anticipated matches on any show. Think about that a couple of years ago, and it wasn't happening. And now 2 non-makeshift tag teams, 2 actual legitimate long-term tag teams are main eventing a pay-per-view for tag team titles. And I take a lot of pride, and like you were saying, humbly, I feel like we've really helped spearhead that because we will beat the drum every day about tag team wrestling and what we perceive it can be and what we perceive we bring to it. So, yeah, I want it to be spotlighted. I want it to be a main event. I want it to be the match that people are looking forward to every single week, every single show. And tonight, that was just another insane thing we can check off the list now because we've never main evented a show as a tag team, especially not against another actual tag team. So it's one more step, again, for what we want tag team wrestling to be, but we're not done yet. We have a lot more we want tag team wrestling to be, and we'll keep being little assholes until we get it there.
Not to you, though. I'll stop being an asshole to you.
You've been great. We have a great run.
Yeah.
You're not sweating at all either.
I know, god dang, dude.
So last 2 questions, Mike and Steve.
Thank you. Mike Riley, 95 Sports out in Boston. And you guys talked about the main event there, tag team, to close out a pay-per-view. 2 out of 3 falls, amazing. Some people already calling that potential match of the year candidate.
Again? No.
It is in my bucket right there, guys. But the after-match celebration, too. And who was that youngster up there? Can you share who that was? And I didn't know. I don't know if they were.
His name's Austin.
Yeah,
never
his
met
name's
him
Austin.
until tonight, but
Yeah, he just had a sign that said, I'm FTR's #1 fan, which is crazy because he was wearing a Blackpool Combat Club shirt. Whatever. But yeah, he was holding a sign that said he was FTR's #1 fan. And I don't know, man. Like I said earlier, I went through life not knowing if people loved me and liked me. I had a great childhood, and my parents were great, and they worked their butts off. But I don't think I knew exactly what love was, And when I see families out there, I try to watch my mouth as much as I can, but when I see families out there, like, it brings joy to me because like I said, that's the only time that I can remember me and my dad and enjoying the time together was watching wrestling. And that's what wrestling is all about. It's allowing. It's about emotion, and it's about making people feel a certain way. But also, man, it's about having that connection. And if we can bring families together, man, that means the world to me. So this little kid, he had his sign and said he was FTR's #1 fan, and I went out there and I wanted to at least try to make this night something that he remembers for quite a while. Because who knows, maybe he might not ever be able to come back to another wrestling show, or he may not, get out too much. But if he got out just tonight, if tonight was the one night that he got out and got to hang out with his mom, then I wanted to make it the best night possible.
Yeah, I think it goes back to some of the things we touched on earlier in the interview, like with mental health and with wrestling being an escape for people. And the mental health aspect of it is it's moments and it's memories, and it's making people forget about everything going on outside and everybody being stressed out or whatever you're dealing with. You can come here and you can just press pause and you can escape and you can have fun. And hopefully that's a moment and a memory that Austin will never forget. But also, like, the crowd tonight, when he got in there, everybody was happy with him.
Yeah.
And everybody's cheering for him, and I'm getting stupid goosebumps right now because of it.
Like, yeah, what if that happened? What if he raised his hands on the ropes and all these people freaked out, and in his mind he's like, man, they like me. These people like me. That's something I didn't feel very much. And maybe tonight was the one night he felt that. And that's
like, everybody in that building had one purpose, and it's to have fun, and especially when he got in the ring was to make him feel welcomed and to make sure that he knew, like, there was a cool moment. And like, to sit there and have, like, a conversation with him, to hear, like, his excitement and to see his mom's face when we took him back over, like, that's what it's all about. Like, it's not about, like, this is cool, yes, like, this is cool, yes, but at the end of the day, like, when I was his age and I had nothing to look forward to, that would have been really fucking cool.
And this is the only major sporting company in the world that would do that. I promise you. Everyone else would be afraid to get sued or whatever, you know.
I'm not crying either.
This is the last question for the champs.
All right, I'm Steve from NBC Sports Boston. Everyone compares you to the greatest tag teams of all time, but is it hard for you to admit that you are one of the greatest tag teams of all time? Because obviously, humbly, you want to say, oh, we're not, maybe. But at the same time, a lot of people compare you to, like, the Hart Foundation we brought up earlier. Is it hard for you to actually sit down and go, you know what, we are one of the greatest tag teams of all time?
When I'm just talking to him, no. I don't know. I don't think I've honestly, if we're being honest about it, I don't think I've ever sat down and thought about, are we the greatest of all time? Are we one of the greatest of all time? Are we Mount Rushmore material? I don't know if I've ever thought about that. The things I think about is when Bret Hart texts me, or Dennis Condrey texts me, or Arn Anderson texts me, or these people that I looked up to, who I loved, and admired, and they tell me how great we are, or what we did was great, or those are the things that I'll forever remember. Like Arthur Ashe last year, we had this match with Sting, and I went to Sting the week before in catering, and he was eating catering, and he had this was a year ago, so he had relatively just come back. And I said, hey, I know at 62 years old, I know you probably have some doubt in your mind, and that's okay. We all do. We're all insecure, And I said, but if there's ever a night you wanted to go 30 minutes, next week is your night. Because I promise you we can make sure, I said, we know Sting better than you know Sting. And we can make sure that happens. So we had the match at Arthur Ashe, and I was on vacation with my family. And I got a call from Sting, but I was out, we were at the beach, and I was out at the beach, and I come back up, and I saw my phone, I was like, what number is this? So I listened to this voicemail. It's like a 3-minute voicemail. And it's from Sting. And he could not, he just, I still have it saved on my phone. But he said, hey, I can't thank you enough. And he called Dan too.
I answered and messed up. I should have had the voicemail.
but he left me this long 3-minute message, and he said, I can't thank you enough. He said, you guys went out of your way to make sure that I looked as good as possible. He said, I was so afraid that I embarrassed myself. He said, and then I got on on Twitter, and I read the results, and I read what the reviews were, and people still love me. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, you're Sting. Of course, we still love you, and you're still the man. But he had that doubt, and those are the things that I'm like, hey, greatest tag team of all time. That may happen, whatever. It may not happen. Top 10, whatever. But those are the things I remember. My hero, when I was a kid, has a voicemail to me. He took time out of his day to call me and say, hey, you're the best, or you guys are the best I've ever been in the ring with. Thank you so much for that. That made my career. And that's the things that mean the most to me, Yeah,
I'll just add to it real quick. It's just the same with what he was saying. I don't know if I've ever really sat down like I want to be, and I say it, but I don't know if I've ever really sat down and thought about, okay, where do we compare to the Midnights? Where do we compare to the Hart Foundation?
Because in my mind, we don't.
Where do we compare to rock and roll? Yeah, so I don't know exactly where we rank, but just being in any sort of debate right now, like top 10, that's insane to me. When you think about the amount of tag teams, great tag teams that have been here before us. And we obviously try to make sure that their memories aren't forgotten. We always try to pay homage when we can to those guys. But I don't ever really sit down and think, man, can we be better than them? And maybe we never will be, because they did this night in and night out, so many days a year, all over the world. And that's what gave us this chance. That's what gave us this opportunity. Yep. And I never went to wrestling school. I learned by watching these guys. I never went to wrestling school. I'm just that talented. But honestly, my trainers were watching these guys and learning how they did it. So I don't know if I compare myself to them, but I know I'm thankful that they existed, and to be mentioned in the same breath as them is something I'll never forget, never take lightly.
And real quick, that's another thing too, is we never want to, we always want to remind people where we came from, because we've got to remember as wrestlers that these guys were working 300 days a year, 350 days a year, whatever. And I mean, that sounds impossible, but they were. And they were away from their families. And they made a small percentage of what we're making now. and we're working less dates now and making more money than they were.
We have doctors at ringside.
Yeah, we have doctors. We have catering. We have doctors. We have catering. We pay for our hotel. They pay for our transportation to and from the airports. That never happened because those guys, that never happened. But it happens now because of them. And so, I'm going to get some heat for saying this, but whatever. But yeah, if Cornette wants to shit on me, that's okay. I'm okay with that because he's earned that right. If Bret Hart or Booker T or whoever says, I'm not a fan of those guys because they did this, that's okay because they earned that right. You know what I mean? And I will listen to them and I'll say, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can take that and say, okay, maybe I can better myself. But I'll never get mad at them for not liking something because they earned that right. Because they were away from their family a lot longer than I'm away from my family now. And they paved that road. And now I can make a living and work 1 day a week, 2 days a week, maybe 3 days a week, and give my family a life that they may not could have afforded, But it's because of the hard work they put in. And we as wrestlers have to remember that. Sorry, that was a tangent for no reason. I apologize. Sorry, I love wrestling. Sorry. But thank you. Thank you.
FTR.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, dude. I'm very sweaty and bloody. Yes.
All right, let's figure this out.
Dax, my mom is here too. Mom, say hi.
Hi. Thank you for bringing your daughter out and having fun with your daughter. That's what wrestling is all about. What's your name?
My name is Michelle. Can I mention something about the little boy?
You can mention whatever you want, Michelle.
He was in front of us, and he has special needs. Whatever.
Yes.
And that just touched my heart when we see him. They felt like, oh, that's the boy who was in front of us, and that was.
That's what it's for. That's what this is. We get one life. You know what I mean? If you get one life, and if I can, if
First class frogs. First class frogs.
Thanks, dude.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Congrats, man.
Thank you. Here we go.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's go, champ.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Dax.
We have about 20 minutes with Tony, and we'll let Justin finish his question from the
Sure. That was great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, sure.
Dragon Lee and Roosh, putting them together, how important was that to the show, even getting them to work together? And that's pretty special too. Can you kind of face behind the curtain, and was there any hesitation of the two brothers wrestling? I think in the past, Roosh said he wouldn't wrestle his brother.
They were eager to do it, given the platform, the opportunity to be a part of a new era of Ring of Honor. It's two of the great wrestlers in Ring of Honor. They both have a lot of history. It's a historic battle of brothers, as we dubbed it. Former Ring of Honor World Champion 2 times Roosh versus former Ring of Honor World Television Champion 2 times Dragon Lee, his younger brother. Great match. And they were both very eager to have it. Of course, now you think Roosh was willing to wrestle his brother, Dragon Lee, very eager for this opportunity to come back to Ring of Honor. Also, they were both very excited for the match. You saw at the end, possibly Roosh play possum on his own brother, which goes to show the kind of person he is. But honestly, for Roosh, you probably maybe saw, all things considered, a relatively restrained version because we know the kind of things he's capable of as a pro wrestler. But I have to say, I have tremendous respect for him. He, going into tonight, had won 9 straight matches across AEW, Ring of Honor, and Mexico. He was on a real streak, and since he came to AEW, he's certainly made a lot of news. We had a very successful debut for him. He beat one of AEW's great wrestlers, former World Tag Team Championship co-holder Penta, on Dynamite. Also did a great rating for that match. And so showed he's a box office wrestler, and he's on a roll. And then, of course, going with the Tonight Wrestling, his brother is a great platform for them both. It's also fitting with the history, what we're trying to do with Ring of Honor, launching a new Ring of Honor for the future, hopefully the best version of Ring of Honor yet, and it is involving people who've recently been involved in Ring of Honor and also some of the founding wrestlers at Ring of Honor, including the Hall of Famers. All of the Hall of Famers, everybody involved in the Hall of Fame is now associated with Ring of Honor. And I thought this would be a great match on the card. It's a dream match when we talked about it. And so I thought it would be great. We asked Roosh, who's with us, if he thought it would be a match he'd be willing to do. And also, if he wanted to talk to his brother and see if his brother wanted to do it. And they were both very eager to do the match, and it would fit on the card because it was 6 matches that were championship matches. Every championship in the Ring of Honor history, every match was a championship match with the exception of the Battle of Brothers, of course, former champions, 2-time world champion Rush, 2-time world television champion Dragon Lee. So every match, as you looked on that card rundown, which you may have seen the graphic, it was a very cool graphic, different look for Ring of Honor. The 6 championship matches, along with the Battle of Brothers, every match on the card had that cachet, had that mystique about it. And so this was that kind of match. It really fit on a card that was a special night and very fitting to both the past of Ring of Honor and the future, of course. I think I'd love to have Rush and Dragon Lee back here. And now Rush, former 2-time Ring of Honor world champion, and now challenging for the AEW Interim World Championship at Fight for the Fallen to benefit Oceania on TBS this Wednesday, just a few days from now, coming off a great match. He's had some great matches recently, and also, of course, Jon Moxley is what a run he's on. And either one of them, you've got to think, would be a great opponent for CM Punk in a unification match when he came back. So it's a dream match, coming off a great performance and a great win tonight for Rush. And also Dragon Lee, debut in the new version of Ring of Honor. Obviously, he has a lot of history in Ring of Honor. It was my first time really working with him, and I have a ton of respect for him as a wrestler. And tonight, he really delivered for us. So I was grateful to them coming in. So that's kind of the background of it. Of course, Rush had really been on a roll for AEW, and he is now also, you can't deny, been on a roll in the previous iteration of Ring of Honor and through the history now into Ring of Honor tonight. Thanks, Justin. Hey, Nick.
Hi, Tony. Nick Hausman, Wrestling Inc.
Hey, Nick.
I want to ask you, like as Liam alluded to earlier, this was a big transition. A lot of moving things happened this weekend, right? Your first big Ring of Honor show.
No, it's my second Ring of Honor show.
Well, your first one that wasn't like kind of pre-set up. Like,
that's true. That wasn't already announced, and some of the pieces were in place. And honestly, we kind of helped them put some of the stuff in place for the show even before the transition.
That's fine.
Sure. Yeah, it's second. Okay, sure.
My question doesn't have to
Sorry.
It's fine. It's okay. I wanted to ask you about the Vince McMahon tweet yesterday. A lot of people were kind of raising eyebrows that, you put it out, but just in general, you obviously put it out for a reason. Like, a big thing happened this weekend. How does the business change now if Vince is going away? What does this mean for AEW, Ring of Honor? Does it mean anything for AEW and Ring of Honor?
Well, I only commented last night about AEW. Of course, we're going into a big event for Ring of Honor tonight with Death Before Dishonor, but I was saying going into AEW Rampage, of course, on Friday night, which had some connections to Ring of Honor. We, of course, heard from Claudio ahead of the big championship match. We had a great match with Jay Lethal against Christopher Daniels, another legend of Ring of Honor who was kind of sticking up for Samoa Joe, who made his return the next night. So there's some connections to tonight, but really I was referencing AEW Rampage is on, and just a fact, I think, of the big major companies, what I would consider, quote-unquote, the big three. Now I am the longest tenured, of course, Obari, and now there's a new CEO there also. So I think if you consider it pro wrestling, then I think it's a fair statement.
I didn't say it was a fair. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were.
I just thought it's a factual statement on it was a note to promote Rampage, but that's all it was, and I can't say anything else about it. But I thought it was a great show tonight, and I obviously hopefully got some eyeballs on Rampage, and I really care about Rampage a lot. And just to put an emphasis on that, I think it's been great having some AEW stars and some Ring of Honor stars fighting against each other, and also involvement, leading into this pay-per-view on both Dynamite and Rampage. Really, since we did the Supercard, there's been some involvement, some matches. We've seen Samoa Joe at times, Jay Lethal having some of these matches. I now, with FTR, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta, a lot of great champions who have connection, and so I think there's a lot of exciting stuff happening between AEW, Ring of Honor, what we're doing in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and really on a Friday, sometimes I will try to promote Rampage in fun ways. I also am known for, as the show starts, if there's a movie before us, mentioning that, hey, the movie ended, here's what's happening in the movie, whether it's The Dark Knight last night or Men in Black 2 a couple weeks ago, or various movies. It's fun, Friday nights. Thanks, Nick.
Your show?
Yep, on 0 Hour, we saw the Prince basically buy out Tully Blanchard Enterprises and turn it into the embassy. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is everything okay with Tully? Can you give us an update on it?
Tully's good. I think for the workload and the things we're asking, I would just say, and where he is in this stage, I think it was a good fit, and now the business transaction that went down here in Ring of Honor between Tully and Prince Nana, I think Tully's he's doing really well personally and thriving, and I'm happy for him and excited. And now Prince Nana is a legend. It's great to have Prince Nana and the embassy back in Ring of Honor, so I think that's something to be excited about. It's a great group of wrestlers, and very excited about that, and wish Tully the best. And I certainly could see him around AEW or Ring of Honor again, but now that transition and that transaction got Prince Nana back here, which is awesome.
Graham Matthews, Bleacher Report. One of the biggest questions for the last 3 years, six-man tag team titles. You get asked all the time. We saw six-man tag team titles tonight from Ring of Honor. Has that ever been a thought in purchasing Ring of Honor as opposed to I know you talked about this recently, about having belts made and stuff like that. Was there ever the thought in buying Ring of Honor using their six-man tag team titles as kind of in AEW and in Ring of Honor and stuff like that? Talking a bit about that.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, and also on that same note, anything you can add to the contract status of Dalton Castle and the boys, anyone else involved in that match, because that was one of the more underrated matches of the evening.
Well, that was a great match, and it was tremendous, and Dalton Castle and the boys are former Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champions, and of course they regained the championship tonight. It was a great match. I really enjoyed it. Don't want to comment on the status of everybody going forward, but excited about the champions regaining the titles, but a lot of respect for everyone involved in the match.
Over here, Tony.
Hey.
Hi, Tony. Jesse Collins, WrestleNomics. So the Briscoes, obviously a huge part of this show tonight in the main event. We hadn't seen them actually wrestle on Dynamite or Rampage. Do we expect to see them in the future, maybe wrestling on either of those programs?
I'm not sure. I can definitely say they'll be a big part of Ring of Honor going forward, and Ring of Honor's got a great future. They're signed to Ring of Honor, and I expect them to be a huge part of the shows we keep doing here going forward. They've been in two of the best matches all year period on the first two Ring of Honor shows that I've been able to work with them, and I'm really excited about working with them in Ring of Honor going forward. I'm not sure what the future holds in other companies for them, including AEW, but I know that they're a big part of Ring of Honor, and certainly if the match had gone the other way tonight, they'd be great champions. They're signed to Ring of Honor contractually, and I think that they're great representatives to the company, and I've really enjoyed working with them in this year in the short time we've been together. Thanks for asking.
Hey Tony, Liam Crowley, comicbook.com. You just mentioned with the Briscoes being exclusively signed to Ring of Honor, with the exception of the six-man titles, all Ring of Honor titles are currently held by contracted AEW talent, which makes sense as while we're in a situation where there's no TV for Ring of Honor. Where do you draw the line when it comes to having those crossovers with AEW and having Ring of Honor exclusive talent? Or is that line going to be blurred until a TV deal eventually comes?
I think it could still be blurred, and not exclusively to AEW, but also, hypothetically, just as an example, New Japan Pro Wrestling. I could see stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling coming and competing for championships in Ring of Honor, just as we've seen New Japan Pro Wrestling stars coming to AEW. So I think you could continue to see that crossover even after eventually we hopefully do get the Ring of Honor weekly television going, and I think the business success of tonight's show is hopefully a good driver, and so I think it's really good news for anybody who likes Ring of Honor, because the show tonight was a big success and we've really revived the brand. And for a company that had a very uncertain future, I remember they didn't know what was going to happen, and it's true, when they did Final Battle, I had no idea that I was going to end up owning the company, and honestly, based on the stuff where we were in the conversations, I would say that I thought it was less than 50-50. I certainly didn't think it was zero. It was probably a double-digit percentage chance, but less than half, I figured. If it was going to go one way or the other, it looked like. And when we did Final Battle, it wasn't like I did it just to tip the scales or anything like that. I honestly didn't think it would, but I thought that it was the right thing to do. And, Bandito was out sick, and we sent Jay Lethal as a replacement. But even before we knew Bandito was out, a lot of the top stars from AEW, like who had been top stars in Ring of Honor, champions in Ring of Honor, like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, sent in videos, and I was happy to do that. I've shown them, no matter what wrestling company it is, if it's, for something nice and for a good reason. I'm happy to help out whenever it's going to help, as long it's not going to hurt us. And so I was happy to help them, and I thought that could have ended up in somebody else's video library, which would have been amusing. But to be honest, they had plenty of video of all those people I just named. So I thought, what the hell. And then Jay Lethal, not so much, but Jay Lethal, that was at that point, just had to help him out because their show was in trouble with the championship match. Jay Lethal, what a great match tonight with Samoa Joe. And so to your question, I think you could see wrestlers from both companies crossing lines when Ring of Honor gets going weekly, and I'd expect some continuance. And certainly after the business success of this show, I think this was the first time Ring of Honor has ever worked with Warner Brothers Discovery. Like I was saying before, I've got a good amount of experience working with Warner Brothers Discovery, a great relationship, I really believe. And Discovery has come in, worked with us, and put so much faith in us in this past week, and they were very happy. And I got a congratulatory text from executives at Warner Brothers Discovery, both from the Warner Brothers people that have worked with us for years, and also from the Discovery, now one company, but both now really people that we don't know as well, who came to us with Shark Week, which is arguably, I think, one of the most important weeks in the Warner Brothers Discovery family and in the Discovery family for many years. It's the longest running weekly television event on TV. And it goes back so long, and when you look them in the eye, the people from Warner Brothers Discovery, you can tell it's very important to them. So it was really meaningful when they gave this opportunity, because you could see this is like a big chance for AEW, and that was a home run. And to again be for AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite now to be 5 weeks in a row #1, and to have that streak continue through Fyter Fest, and to hopefully AEW did a great job representing Shark Week and Warner Brothers Discovery and all those people from the Discovery family now that's part of a bigger family with Warner Brothers Discovery that we all share. It's great. And for Ring of Honor, I think hopefully we did right by them tonight. It was Bleacher Report, our first time together, and it was record numbers for Ring of Honor Digital since we've taken over, and historically it's going to be, like I said, one of the 3 biggest Ring of Honor pay-per-views in over 20 years of operating, and that's a really good sign. So thanks for asking.
Thank you, Tony.
James Stewart, 98.5 The Sports Hub here in Boston. When you talk about roster composition for Ring of Honor and going forward when you get TV, are you looking at other talents who have Ring of Honor history, like a Maria Kanellis-Bennett, a Michael Bennett, a Matt Taven, a Brian Malonis, people with local ties, biasly? Are you looking at talents like that, and what's your overall evaluation of those particular talents?
There are all great talents, everybody you named. I think each of them has their own merits, and any of those would be a good addition. In addition, there are people that came in tonight with history in Ring of Honor, recent Ring of Honor, whether it's like, people that were on the buy-in, like a Tony Deppen, or to take it all the way back to Slim J, who was in Ring of Honor 20 years ago. And I was very excited to bring back recently. I'm proud of that. Slim J is a hell of a wrestler, and he should have been wrestling on TV a lot more in the last 2 decades, and now for him to be a part of Ring of Honor, and also he's going to be debuting on AEW Dark now and very soon, and so Ari Daivari and Slim J, great to have many wrestlers come back, and of course Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez, also wrestlers with a history in Ring of Honor. Willow and Allison Kay, great match. And Willow, we saw not only wrestle for us at Supercard of Honor in a great championship match, but she'd had history in the recent Ring of Honor. And like I said, we've seen names spanning the 20 years of Ring of Honor, people who've been here recently and just stayed with the company through the transition in management and ownership. And also a lot of names from the past, some people who were already in AEW, some people who we brought back to pro wrestling. It's great.
We've got 4 more folks who have not asked questions, so we're going to have all 4 of you get to ask a question.
Okay, and then maybe can I do one more? Will we get 5? We'll do 4 that haven't, and then I'm going to flip a coin.
Let's do the 4.
We'll do the top 5.
Let's do the 4. Here we go.
Let's go.
Here we go. Starting with this gentleman.
Thanks.
Anthony Pyrus, PW Insider. You actually just said a name that I was really happy to hear you say, Mercedes Martinez. Obviously, she got probably the biggest win of her career tonight. And going forward, she looks to be a big part of the Ring of Honor process. Can you tell us what goes into something like that? And tell me about the Ring of Honor women's division, because I really like what she does. I thought the match tonight was an underrated banger, as they say.
She's been tremendous, and it continues to be a tremendous champion. She was a great interim champion for Ring of Honor, and then, of course, won the unification match on Dynamite against Diana, and has continued to be now a great champion here at Death Before Dishonor. I have a ton of respect for Mercedes. The way she arrived in AEW as a mercenary, getting involved, doing other people's dirty business in some of the matches. She's a better wrestler than that. She's a great pro, and I have a lot of respect for her. And it's funny, I think I told this story, but if I haven't, I like, it was like exactly, I can't echo what Dax said enough about some of the great legends. One person who's fairly outspoken about stuff when he doesn't like something in AEW, but at times when he has, and to be totally fair, but I think he's known as being at times a critic of AEW, is Booker T, and I have tons of respect for Booker T. I've been watching him since I was 7 years old or 8 years old, going home after school, like rushing home to watch Global Wrestling Federation when Booker T and Stevie Ray, before they were even known as Harlem Heat, and going back all the way to Gary Hart and Sebastian. And so I've been a fan since I was a little boy of Booker T and his brother Stevie Ray, and he's been vocal. And actually, one of the first times I met him and talked to him, at least since I was a little kid, first time certainly when I was a professional wrestling promoter, was on Chris Jericho's cruise, and he was quite adamant that I should have signed Mercedes Martinez, and I was pointing out to him that, okay, so I really liked her. She came in and did the original All Out in 2019. And I actually was the agent on the Women's Casino Battle Royale on All Out, and I put it together, and she was the Joker, and she was one of the final people in it. So to say that when I put the order of entry and the thought into her, it would be an understatement. But also, if you remember, in 2019, talk about a different roster. I mean, it was a leaner company. This was before we'd gotten the TV extension and had new money coming in, and then I started to really build up the roster in early 2020, if you remember, with free agents that came in, the big crop in 2020, including FTR came in 2020. Ty Conti on the women's division, of course, and then you saw Mr. Brody Lee. I mean, some great champions, great stars in the world of wrestling, and many, many others. So in 2019, we just didn't have that budget. She signed not long after that, and I just kind of missed the boat. I told him, I was like, I really liked her, and honestly, if that TV money had come in sooner, I would have done it, honestly. And I looked him in the eye. He's, of course, worked with her, really respected her. So I hope I've vindicated in his eyes that I've done right by her and by giving her some opportunities, and that's all I've done. She's earned them, believe me. She's earned these opportunities, but by booking the matches that she deserved, and she's been a great champion for us. Serena Deeb also, 2 great championship matches. She's definitely deserving of being a champion. She's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and both Thunder Rosa at Double or Nothing and here at Death Before Dishonor. Again, Serena Deeb in both championship matches has been outstanding challenger, and she could challenge for any title in the world at any time. She's a great wrestler and great match. And Mercedes, great pro, like I said, tons. And I'm echoing Dax's point. I would just beat that into the ground that like Booker T has earned the right to criticize or say whatever he wants about anybody in the world of professional wrestling, and I take it all as constructive, including what he said about Mercedes, which I took to heart. So I hope he knows I was listening to him. And I saw him recently, and he looks outstanding. He just looks so good. I mean, for anybody of any age, but to have wrestled 3 decades plus and be in the condition he's in, and after all the great matches and all the toll it's taken and all the years and still look like Booker T does, it's pretty amazing, and he's one of the best. So that's just my thought, no matter what he says about us. Just as also some of the other vocal critics of AEW, whether it's including Jim Cornette, one of the more vocal critics, but at times also a lot of what he says is very fair, and I appreciate the positive stuff, and certainly he was a mentor in my wrestling watching before he knew what he was doing as a disseminating information and his philosophies. I learned a lot. So those are great examples of people who can say whatever they want about AEW, Ring of Honor, me, whatever they want in pro wrestling.
Thank you.
And but I just want to say, like I said, Mercedes is a great champion, and the first time I worked with her was All Out 2019, and since then she's wrestled on TV more, and I think her career worked out very well for everybody. And like she said when she came in, I think we're all in a better place than we were the last time we worked together, and we're all really happy. And she's awesome, and so I'm glad you asked. Thank you. She had a great match, and I wanted her to be here, actually. I was hoping she would be here, but she got the heck kicked out of her, and honestly, I don't know if she was in shape to sit here for 20 minutes and field questions. She's going to be fine. She's cleared to rest, but I wouldn't ask her to wrestle again tonight, and I wouldn't ask her to sit here for 20 minutes after she got the hell beaten out of her, in the shape she was in, but she's going to be fine, and she did a great match. So thank you very much. I would have loved to have had her here. So thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony, for those, after tonight's show is so successful, for those eager to watch this on a weekly basis, is 2023, any comment on when we could see a weekly ROH product? Could it be live? Any details you can share, even if it's just your optimism?
I'm just really optimistic. I heard during the week that the pre-buys were going really well, and talking to Bleacher Report, it was surreal talking to the folks from Warner Brothers Discovery Bleacher Report about Ring of Honor. Of course, the first show was a transitional show, and they were really open to this, and I thought it was going to help professional wrestling. And even though they don't have any involvement with Ring of Honor going into this pay-per-view, like, it was the first time Ring of Honor and Warner Brothers Discovery have worked together. Like you said, it was a very successful first night, no matter how you slice it or dice it. And I'm hopeful that now the conversations we've had, I think this was a good test for how Ring of Honor can perform and what the interest is in Ring of Honor, and also, the fact that a lot of the segments have held up really well. We've had some big ratings for some of the champions wrestling in Ring of Honor, FTR, who were just here with me. And, of course, Samoa Joe has had some great defenses. It was great to get Samoa Joe back tonight. And I really just can't say enough about him and what a huge star he is in the history of Ring of Honor, one of the other Hall of Famers. And then we got every Hall of Famer of the four that was not a class I picked, but I certainly could not have picked a better class than the group they picked with CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Briscoes, and Samoa Joe.
Back here, Tony.
Hey.
Hello, Tony. Steve from NBC Sports Boston again. I've talked to many AEW wrestlers, interviewed them, and I always ask them the question, what's Tony like? And they're always like, he is approachable. They have a question, you're there. They talk about your energy. How do you keep up energy? It's almost 1 in, and obviously you're writing AEW, Ring of Honor. How are you keeping up this energy from the morning to night?
I love this. I am absolutely, we've been doing this for almost 3 years with AEW Dynamite, and we launched a company over 3 years ago. And Christmas 2019 was the last time I had a week off from booking, and it was the most I probably thought about it, and I wished I had been able to do a show. But then I think we came off arguably the most difficult point in the history of our company was the week before that, Christmas 2019, and then I think one of the most important business nights in the history of the company was the next week after that. We went from, if you look at the jump in the rating from 12-18, 19 to 1-1, 20 over that 2 weeks, and it was the last time Christmas 2019, and that wasn't by choice, honestly. It was because there was a Christmas story marathon at the time, and so it was on Christmas. No, but that's a tradition, and also we're a new show. We've only been on for like 2.5 months, so it was, but we were able to do a Christmas night show this year, which is pretty cool because we did Christmas Night Rampage, which was a great show, and so that was the last time we had a week off. I hated having that week off, and so I've never missed a show. I love it, and also I love my other jobs and responsibilities. Not to get into them here, and it wouldn't be a disservice to the wrestling media to spend time talking about it. But I love that, and being able to do the work I do, and being able to go the places I go and see the things I've seen. I'm really, really fortunate, and I owe all of this to my parents, in particular my dad, who took a huge gamble on AEW in a business plan. It may have sounded crazy to him. He straight up told on the record, I'm not saying anything he hasn't said on the record to major publications, he did not believe in, and now did a 180, and I talked to him tonight, and this has been such a great success, and it was inspired by moves he's made in his career, this acquisition, and my father's he started his business and bootstrapped his business and grew it, and everything I learned about business I learned from him. Wrestling I learned none of it from him, but it's from like the same thing Cash said. Like, I wasn't formally trained to do this either, and I didn't go to booking school, but I did write Dynamite as a fan for a long time, and that's worth something, just like what Cash said, like, basing it on the best people, and I think in his case, the people he based it on pretty much all respect what he does. Now, in I might be the exception to that. A lot of the people I idolize might not love everything I do, but I do think tonight's show, I would imagine, I hope that even a staunch critic of AEW or Ring of Honor would really find little fault in tonight's show. I thought it was really a perfect night of wrestling. And we're coming off great shows, Forbidden Door and Ring of Honor. But, I said going into it, my friend Rick Rubin, that I thought this is a wrestling show he's going to love. He's loved a lot of stuff in AEW recently, but I just had a feeling this is like a meat and potatoes wrestling show. And given his background, I thought he'd love it. So I don't know. I love the grind, man. And this 1 a.m. for me is, I'm like Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'm just getting warmed up, man.
So, you need 7 minutes usually to warm up, I believe.
15,
yeah.
I'd say most of my best ideas in life have come after midnight.
Well, with it being nearly 1 o'clock, here's our last question.
Okay.
Jeremy, it was over in your 12:30. I saw on Twitter, by the way.
You ready to start the doubleheader, Tony or Rudd?
I'm sorry?
You ready to start the doubleheader? pitch a double header here? All that energy at 1 a.m.?
Yeah,
Right?
let's go. I could.
Yeah, you're ready. All right.
I could. I mean, we absolutely could. I think we have them in sports all the time, and big. You know, I certainly do the double shift in work all the time. I'm gonna go clock into my other job here when everyone wakes up in England. So.
No, I love it. I just want to ask you real quick. I know you just talked about the potential TV deal for Ring of Honor and obviously the success of tonight. But do you see down the line, from a future standpoint, Ring of Honor being full developmental for AEW or
No, please. No, I'm sorry. And I didn't mean I was just like knee jerk, but like that's one of the reasons why I purchased Ring of Honor as my own acquisition. It happened very quickly. It was I had an opportunity and had to make a decision that day, take it or leave it, or it's going to sell to the other obvious person that it would sell to. And I thought for many reasons it was the right move, and it's worked out so great. It's a business move for everyone involved. I don't see Ring of Honor as developmental for AEW at all. I see AEW Dark as developmental for AEW. Now, there has been some involvement from some of the Ring of Honor wrestlers if you follow it closely, but also a lot of the young AEW wrestlers have come along on AEW Dark. Look at some of the top acts in AEW, and I've said, pardon me because I've said this in Scrum before, but like I'll give you examples, okay? A lot of this in the pandemic, we were already using it as that to some extent before we got into the Dark era, but then when we were able to tape it in the studio in the empty building, I could just stay as much as we wanted because there was no audience. We weren't running anybody down. It was empty, no audience. We started taping 14, 15, 16 dark matches and bringing in independent wrestlers, anybody who could travel into America safely, and also a lot of people, they weren't able to make a living either in their day jobs or particularly in pro wrestling because there wasn't really anybody else running. And we ran these shows safely. We had no known COVID transmissions, and we did bring the fans back in the 25% seating capacity. But AEW Dark has been developmental, and there were acts. For example, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens were separate wrestlers on Dark, and now I was in a position where I like them both, and I forced my hand. A lot of people who work here now, including their trainer Pat Buck, who's an executive at AEW now and a great coach. He was their coach. He coached them in pro wrestling, and he was working in WWE, and their coach is telling them your own coach, the person who trained you to wrestle, both of them as individuals, is recruiting them. And what's pretty cool is I was able to talk them both into coming because I had plans for them. They'd never tag teamed before, but I really believed that they both are special, and I asked them to give us this opportunity, and if it doesn't work out, just stay tonight, do this match together, see it, let's get a feel for this. I really like you. I'm looking you both in the eye, Max and Anthony. I'd also only seen Max Anthony had sent out a tape for the Search for Spears, and it was in 2020, early pandemic, and he looked great, and it was like, this guy. And he came in and worked on Dark, and then Max, coming out of Creative Pro, I'd seen Max rapping on Twitter, like in his home, I think, in his home studio, but he'd never done it as the entrance. And I really believe there was something there to a tag team, the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed's a name that I just thought would be a cool name for a team forever. And one was actually when Chris and I were kicking around ideas. His first thing was the Fist, and I was like, I'm not sure about that, Chris. And then my first thing was the Acclaimed, and I think we ended up settling on the Inner Circle, which was I think Chris. So the Acclaimed's a great example. Powerhouse Hobbs has worked his way up. He worked on Dark, and then he got an opportunity on AEW Dynamite based on the hard work he did on AEW Dark. I was looking for a good opponent for Darby Allin in the summer of 2020, and it was him. And I was the coach on the match, and I got to work with Will Hobbs firsthand, and what a first-class person. Then you have Red Velvet, who was really, I think, wrestling her and she's been in some of the biggest matches. She was the main event of the first ever AEW Rampage, Red Velvet. And an important wrestler in AEW. She's, in big matches, including in the match with Cody and Red Velvet versus Jade and Shaq, which was a huge match for AEW. And so we really believe in her, really trust her, and she's only gotten better. It sucks that she's been out injured, but she's a great example of somebody who came in, was not the spotlight person on AEW Dark, but we took notice of her, and then the opportunities, and then she started to get chances on Dark, and then started to win some matches and put something together. So those are just some examples, the Acclaimed, Hobbs, and Red Velvet that I could think of, but there's been more in recent years. Wheeler Yuta in both AEW and Ring of Honor has really come along. He's on AEW Dark, like he said. We brought him in for the tapings. Also his rival, both before AEW, before tonight. He's had great matches with Daniel Garcia. And, both of them worked really hard on Dark to get into the positions they got in on TV. And honestly, different paths to get here. Garcia, I don't know why, but when 2.0, formerly known, other names, but at the time, Matt and Jeff of Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange, when they became free, really great TV wrestlers, great reputation. I thought they'd be great veterans to put with Garcia, do something different. And I think the presentation was really cool. And those things when you see it, you had an idea and then you see it come to life and instantly you hit a home run. I didn't tell them they were going to be paired up or anything. I just had the idea to put Garcia and 2.0 together. And I called them, they had been 3.0 and obviously they had been called Everrise before, in wrestling for another company. And so with 2.0, it's an old name, but also I didn't want people to think Garcia was part of the tag team because he's his own singles wrestler, but there's also, so it was 2.0 and Garcia because I think it was 3.0. People might have thought it was a 3-person tag team, which it wasn't. Does that make sense? But they all showed up and they were all wearing, if you look at the first appearance, they were all wearing black with red trim. And it was like, obviously 2.0 matching gear as a tag team, but Garcia, his stuff matched theirs, and it was like, oh, this is fate. And from the beginning, they'd done so well together, they kept coming along. And then for Wheeler Yuta, how far he's come. And so it was pretty cool to have, I have to say, FTR have the 2 out of 3 falls match tonight and retain the championship in the same place where they retained against the Young Bucks in their first defense in Boston, because in the area, it was a different building, and I know it's not the city, right in the city, but I know we're within the state and close enough to the geographical area where I think it's some of the same fans that saw FTR versus the Bucks in FTR's first defense of the championship. And then, of course, since then at Forbidden Door, they picked up more hardware, more gold, become the IWGP World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. And now, coming back here, it was really cool at FTR to retain against the Briscoes in a 2 out of 3 falls match and prove something here. But also, very cool to come up here. Wheeler Yuta, I don't think we talked about this yet. Really, the night Wheeler Yuta, in my opinion, became a national TV wrestling star and pulled the best number we've done for Rampage all year, and I think for a tape show, it might be the best number we've ever done, was a Boston show with Wheeler Yuta versus John Moxley. So for Wheeler Yuta to come back to Massachusetts, the Boston area, and pick up a win, and to me, kind of what I saw as a career-defining performance in many ways at this stage of his career, to retain the championship against his rival, and it'll be, I believe, the first of many career-defining performances, but to have 2 of those in the same year on Rampage, Moxley versus Yuta 3, and also tonight here in the same state, in the same market, against Daniel Garcia, who's somebody who just has an amazing rivalry with before AEW, and now also Ring of Honor and AEW. So it's really special, and the rivalry between sports entertainment and Jericho and his people and pro wrestling continues. And so now it's going to go back to AEW this week. I'm very excited about Claudio being the new world champion, very excited about Yuta being the new pure champion. Of course, FTR retaining here, and really special for FTR and Yuta here again, back where we were in Boston. But also I have to say, I wasn't sure what to expect when I took over Ring of Honor and when we got into this. And the excitement of the fans and people I'd never worked with before, because there's so many people here at Ring of Honor that we've retained and brought in when the transition, people that I tried to make it as authentic an experience, including bringing on a good amount of the Ring of Honor people that were working there before the transition and before the transaction. So I didn't know a lot of these people, so it's almost like it's a hybrid of the teams, because there's people from AEW here, but there's a ton of people I'd never worked with before Supercard, and getting to know them on the build-up to Supercard, and then our first show together, and now our second show together. It's really coming together, and it's a new experience. It's different than the start of AEW, but it feels like the start of something new, but the beginning of another cool journey. So thanks for asking.
Thank you,
that was great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you.